Hey everyone! Since my focus on this channel is self-love, women empowerment, and chatting about anything that I think could be an interesting topic of conversation that we can all learn important life lessons from, I thought, why not do a recap series of one of my favorite reality TV shows about dating, love, and relationships. So here we are diving into the 4th season of Love is Blind. I know without a doubt that there's going to be a lot of takeaway lessons from observing how these people go on. If you don't know what the show is about, it's the Netflix dating series that begins with a group of singles getting to know each other through one-on-one conversations in these rooms called pods. The twist is that they can't see what each other looks like, and they won't until after they get engaged. The whole process takes a whopping 4 weeks leading up to the wedding day, where the couples decide once and for all if they truly do want to get married or end things. This season consists of 30 singles based in Seattle, and Nick and Vanessa Lachey are back as hosts. Yay! The intro, as usual, is full of drama. The part that stood out to me the most was one of the men confessing that even though he'd already proposed to one woman, he was going to propose to someone else because he thinks he made the wrong choice. The first person we see in the pods is 30-year-old Chelsea, who is a pediatric speech-language pathologist. She gets paired up with 31-year-old Kwame, a sales development manager. They get deep pretty quickly when Kwame reveals that he used to play professional soccer for a living until he suffered a career-ending injury. He admitted that it's something that still bothers him to this day, and he doesn't know if he'll ever get over it. He thanks Chelsea for allowing him to talk about it since he rarely does. In his confessional interview, he mentions an interesting experience about not being able to go to his high school prom date's house to pick her up because he's black.
Mrs. Drayton, I'm medically qualified, so I hope you wouldn't think it presumptuous if I say you ought to sit down before you fall down, I mean.
He thinks you're gonna faint because he's a Negro.
That moment created a lifelong need for him to always feel he has to go above and beyond to impress people. So we already know that he's been down with the swirl for quite some time, and that could be an indicator of the kind of woman he ultimately chooses.
Hey, where are the white women at?
Kwame then gets featured again with 26-year-old marketing manager Micah. Their conversation apparently went very well since at the end, he made the bold statement that she was his number one. Micah and Paul meet next. Paul is 28 years old and an environmental scientist. Nothing that went on during their conversation is worth mentioning, in my opinion. Paul gets into another pod with 33-year-old Amber, a flight attendant. I don't know if Paul is going to turn out to be a playa, since he referred to both Micah and Amber as his future wife. Fun fact about Amber is that she's already been there and done that, having been married twice before. Yes, twice. Next is a montage of several couples. None of the people involved particularly stood out to me, with the exception of Billy, a 34-year-old real estate investor. I'm going to call it now and say he doesn't end up with anyone because he was asking some very weird and inappropriate questions with each woman he was paired up with. Tiffany and Brett get to chatting. Tiffany is 36 and a client recruiter, while Brett is 35 and a design director. Right off the bat, they appear to have a lot in common, including their dating history and what they're looking for in a relationship moving forward. 25-year-old business owner Irina and 31-year-old criminal defense attorney Zach meet. Irina cut to the chase early and called him out on all the crazy questions she'd heard that he was asking the other women, the most outrageous one being if they were a stripper or had ever stripped. Come to find out, Zach's mother, who has since passed away, stripped when he was a child to provide for the family. He admits that after she passed, he went into overdrive on his quest for success, all the while feeling like he was dying inside. Irina shared her childhood experience of immigrating to the US from Russia as a toddler and growing up with very little. Zach and Bliss. Their names sound so cute together, right? Bliss is 32 and a senior program manager. I think they already had a previous interaction that wasn't aired, since he knew her voice as soon as she walked into the pod. They have a cute little conversation about the song I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack that holds a special place in both of their hearts. Micah has decided that her two frontrunners are Paul and Kwame. One red flag that stood out to me was Micah calling Kwame a nice guy and admitting that she usually doesn't go for that type, but this time she's willing to give it a try. Tiffany and Brett meet again in all their color-coordinated glory. He opens up about some issues he experienced in his childhood and how he developed his talent for drawing, which he was able to parlay into a dream job with Nike. Micah isn't the only one with eyes for Kwame. Chelsea also appears to be falling hard for the former soccer player. They have a follow-up conversation that gets quite intimate, and Kwame makes the bold move of telling Micah that he's so sure about her that he wants to propose earlier than expected. Tiffany is completely smitten with Brett. It's obvious. They share a very sad moment though when he tells her the story of his brother who was killed in a car accident just before he was due to get married. The experience has affected him so much that he worries that if he were to get close to someone and lose them, he wouldn't know how to handle it. Paul and Amber get into some deep conversation about cheating in a relationship. Amber admits that even though she doesn't think it's right, she can see how it can happen, since she believes that she may have gone down that road eventually in her prior marriage since she was so unhappy. Paul was clearly taken aback about that statement and even called it a red flag. Amber then backpedaled for her life, saying that she would never actually cheat. She would rather end a relationship if she ever felt that things were getting to that point. Okay, Amber. Paul and Micah have a heart-to-heart. She tells him that if she had to pick someone now, it would be him. Damn, Micah, what about Kwame? Paul tells her he feels the same, and he knows he needs to end things with Amber. Tiffany and Brett cannot get enough of each other. Brett tells her that he thinks they are the perfect match. His confession is met with silence, and then more silence, even after he repeatedly asks if she's even there. So what happened? Tiffany fell asleep. Yup, right in the middle of their heartfelt moment. Naturally, Brett storms out of the pod totally pissed. And that's the end of the episode. Just for fun, I decided to do my best to match the voices I heard to the intro, and my guess is that the guy that regrets proposing to one woman and decides to propose to another is Paul. My prediction is that he first chooses Micah, later regrets it, and then tries to hook up with Amber. I think Kwame will end up with Chelsea, and even though things ended on a sketchy note with Brett and Tiffany in episode 1, I do think they'll work it out and end up together as well. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we break down episode number 2. Bye!